Welcome back to Yoshi Entertainment, everybody. As we all know, this is Black History Month, and I'm coming to you with black facts. So you see this picture, as you see it. This was really our reality as black people not too long ago when you think about it. We were only able to sit at the back of the bus. We were not human enough to some people in this country to allow us to sit at the front of the bus. All of us going to our 9 to 5s, working our butts off so we can pay our bills and feed our families. But people who were black could not even sit down at the front of the bus to rest their feet. They had to walk all the way to the back and stay back there. So we all know that Rosa Parks was the woman who was the face of the movement of, she sat down in that spot and she said, I wasn't getting up. I've been working just like y'all. I deserve to be able to sit here. And they literally removed her off of that bus. I went to the monument, the memorial, if you will, that is in Memphis, Tennessee. I went to the museum. I don't want to spoil it, of course, although there was a scene, if you will, a particular stop while you're going through the museum that was dedicated to that part, that time in history. And the way that they carried that out, just getting a glimpse of what it was like back then during that time, especially for black women, it was tragic. Let me just put it that way. Now, I mentioned Rosa Parks. As I mentioned, she was chosen to be the face of that movement for black people. Now, Rosa Parks, contrary to what some people do believe, was not the first black woman who actually refused to give her seat to a white person on a bus. The first black woman who refused to give her seat up to a white person on a bus was a young black woman by the name of Claudette Colvin. Now, I said young black woman, but she was really just a teenager at that time, really still just a child, a girl. And she was brave enough to not give up her seat to a white woman on a bus. And this happened months before Rosa Parks came along and did the same thing. Later on that night, whenever she met with her parents, instead of giving her a hard time, I guess you can say, I believe that they were really proud of her for what she did for taking a stand. And it was so bad during that time that after her father and her mother got her back home and she was safe, he stayed up all night with a rifle just in case the mob, and y'all know who I'm talking about by saying the mob, decided to come to their house and try to do something to hurt him and his daughter and his wife because of the stand that she took. That's how bad it was back in that time. It's crazy how history gets buried, how people get looked over, and it's really not fair if you ask me, and I do believe that this woman deserves her flowers for being one of the first people who did this and did not get the recognition that she deserved for really being the trailblazer, if you will, for that movement. I felt like it was on my heart to talk about this subject, and I was glad that finally Black History Month had finally rolled around and that I could have a reason to talk about it because it does need to be talked about. I've seen some people bringing it up lately. We saw Monique bring it up whenever she sat down with Shannon Sharp. And I'm really glad that this part of history, like I said, that was buried, looked over, overshadowed, is finally being looked at again, being brought to light. Now, we also have to talk about why it happened this way. We're going to be 100% honest. And like I said before, people have already said this. I'm just restating the facts and bringing them out more. They could have made this woman the face of that movement, like how they did with Rosa Parks. But the reason why they didn't, the reason why the black community, all of our little organizations that were going around at that time, the reason why they chose not to was because she was a dark-skinned, unwed, pregnant teenager whose aesthetics and background wasn't digestible, if you will, to the white people whose attention they were trying to get. When you really look at it, this was an early version of colorism with a side of racism. And I know a lot of people might say, well, we don't know that if they would have made her the head of this movement, if she would have gotten as far as Rosa Parks did, because she was more digestible. She had a more digestible, as they say, image to the people they were trying to appeal to get them to pass off on some laws to stop doing that hot raggedy mess by making only black people sit at the back of the bus. But I guess we'll never know now, will we? In the moment we have to resort to choosing people, once again, who fit an image that people only want to see, the moment we start picking and choosing what people want to see as a black person, as a black woman, and use them as the image so that we can convince them to treat us right, we have messed up. We have lost our grit. We have lost our determination, because what we should have done back then was put our foot down and said, not just Rosa Parks, but this pregnant, unwed, dark-skinned teenager who y'all didn't want to pay attention to is also black. When you see blackness, you see her as well. And what you're not going to do is just choose who you want to get behind because they look less black, so you're satisfied now. We should have never accepted that. We should have never stood for that. And I believe because we did, we're still paying for that today. We will continue to pay for it as long as we keep doing that. We will be held by the standards that we allow other people to hold us by. What am I asking from the black community, you might ask, is that you don't allow people to trick you into believing that it is okay for them to reform an image that they think black people should look like for their satisfaction. No, you will see us for what we are, who we are, what we look like. And you will respect us for who we are, for what we look like, or we will protest. We will not let you rest until you do. Now, another reason why I honestly do believe they went with Rosa Parks, other than those reasons, because I've seen, like I said, people talking about that, but I haven't seen too many people talking about this last reason, me myself. There's maybe one person that I've seen bring up this particular reason. I don't know if you guys done any research on Rosa Parks, but Rosa Parks was into Freemasonry. She was what you call an Eastern Star, basically what the women go into as Freemasons. Now, I'm not about to go back and forth with anybody on why you should not be involved with that kind of lifestyle, especially if you call yourself a Christian or a God-fearing individual. But what needs to be paid attention to whenever we're starting these movements within the black community to fight for rights and to fight for being treated fairly is that we don't start them in the wrong place or with the wrong intentions or with a lack of integrity. We can take Black Lives Matter for an example. I believe it started in the right place, but I believe somewhere they got off the right track and they went somewhere they should not have. Now, instead of being able to see the movement as powerful and impactful and positive, it's looked at as conspiracy, controversy, and division. And it keeps the big picture from being seen, unfortunately. Once again, be careful where you start these movements. Be careful who you allow to start these movements, what they're into. Because I don't care what anybody says at the end of the day. If God is not the head of your life, the head of your movement, whatever it is, you can expect it to go somewhere it's not supposed to. I know a lot of black people just want to get behind certain people who jump up and say, oh, I want to fight for black rights, I want to do this, and might have a large following or might be famous. But y'all need to start questioning some of these people, where their motives are, what their background is like, what they're into, before you just put your support somewhere so quickly. So that way we won't have, like I said before, instead of a movement that was supposed to be impactful and long lasting, we end up with allegedly a co-founder of said movement who was doing stuff that they should not have been doing towards the people who they should have been helping and standing up for, allegedly. And on top of that, the people whose eyes were supposed to be opening so that they can stop being racist and hateful towards us and looking at us like we're less than humans, they're going to end up gaslighting us about our struggles and turning a blind eye because they'll just see that as, oh, well, you people did this and y'all don't even have y'all's own stuff together, so why should I be worried about it anyways? Because people will use whatever excuse they have to justify their ignorance, to justify their malice, to justify their hatred and not doing what's right. But anyways, this is Black History Month, and this was Black Facts brought to you by Yoshi Entertainment. Y'all let me know what y'all think and how y'all feel respectfully down in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Y'all have a blessed, beautiful, and safe day.